In three, two, one. Good evening, everybody. This is Enlightened Masculinity. Survival and replication. Power and pleasure. Competition and family. Influence and adaptability. These are our opinions, combined with interviews with influential thinkers and doers in the realms of sexuality, human nature, spiritual growth, and enlightened behavior for the modern era. I welcome you to our podcast today, where we will be ad-libbing a bit and talking about a myriad of topics. I am joined with my co-host, Yogi Chris, PhD of Ninth Limb Yoga. I will be introducing him shortly after. Allow me to introduce myself, your other co-host, Akash Inti, senior biotech analyst, registered yoga teacher, seduction artist, and a student of life. Super excited to have you guys all on today. A couple things that I want to talk about before I pass it over to Yogi Chris is some of my past expressions from this week. I was just talking to one of our listeners, Alex Palacio, about a YouTube video that I just put out earlier this week and what influenced it. From the commentary, what was brought up or what was mentioned to me was that it was very pure and real and was a way of tapping into emotion that this others could connect with and understood. So what did really influence or what caused that? So there's a lot of things going on in my life. If you guys have been watching, you guys are definitely well aware of them. But I would say this past one was largely influenced and caused by one of my mentors and teachers, Arash Zipar Dibazar, also known as AZD. I attended the Messengers Extension Program along with Yogi Chris, and I was actually in Pittsburgh with Yogi Chris this past weekend, where he taught at Yoga Flow Shadyside in Pittsburgh. Wow, the reception of Yogi Chris was that as if a Beatle had entered into town and was giving a concert. It was insane how incredible, how much everybody loved the content that he had to deliver and how effective he was at delivering his message to his audience. It was unparalleled. I learned so many things, not only as a yoga teacher, but as a brother, and most importantly, as a human being. Yogi Chris just continues to teach me so much every single day in his expressions, and I'm so honored to have a brother like him um, going along with me in this journey. Now, getting back to, I guess, what I had mentioned earlier in the sense of some of the YouTube videos that I've been putting out recently, like I said, I've been going through a lot recently. I've been seeing a girl who's literally on the edge of life and death. Just her condition is literally life and death. I'm hanging out. I'm watching some of her cats, who are my friends for this evening, who are joined me in live and hanging out with me. I've been watching over them for the past week or so, and they have taught me so many things. Really, true expressions of the masculine and feminine in all of their beauty. I've realized the light side and the shadow side of both, and one of the things I love about having them around and being surrounded by them is that they're animals. So they tap into being instinctual. They are animals. Like they'll fight, they'll claw, they'll just do anything. They'll fight and they'll fuck, they'll eat, they'll cry, like they'll do everything that animals do. And it's awesome. It's incredible. I love it. Cats are very mystical and I kind of like that. One of them, Maya. So there's a guy and a girl. There's Toby, who I like to call Tiger, and then Maya. I really like Maya's name, but I always forget her name, which maybe that speaks to I don't know what it speaks to. It doesn't even matter what it speaks to. It doesn't matter what it not speaks to. Nonetheless, I like having them around because they've taught me so much, and they're just beautiful. We washed them the other day, and it was just, oh man, it was something else. I have a request to show the cats from my little brother, Akshay Woolik Katakam. Maybe we'll see. You gotta play your cards right, buddy. Sometimes little brothers just don't learn, It is what it is. Anyways, Yogi Chris will be joining us in a moment. I've been doing a lot of crying recently. This is something that's just very real. It's something that it is. I've been going through and experiencing a lot of hard times, and um, I found that a really great way to release it is by crying. There's been times where, as I was just mentioning earlier, while I was ad-libbing, and I will just literally just shout at the top of my lungs when in the car, while outside, and really tapping into like deeper levels of breath. It's absolutely incredible. Alex, I totally feel you. I've definitely this crying thing is only something very recent that I've gotten in touch with and in tune with. So um, it's really something that's, I'd say, learned. Actually, I would say crying is, it's like an acquired taste and acquired learn. I don't know. It's acquired though, for sure. Um, so it's something that's, I think, a very powerful energy, particularly for men to tap into, because it's not something that we historically do tap into. And so we're in ways that we're able to go and express ourselves in ways that others are not, that gives us a level up, because you can tap into that energy and someone else can't. And well, that's called competitive advantage, motherfuckers. Anyways, I know I'm cursing a little bit. I'm like really feeling the testosterone flowing through my my veins today. Specifically, I got out of a yoga practice earlier. The other thing I've been doing is I've noticed that if I do yoga every 12 hours, it is incredible. My ability to like tap into just higher levels of breath, breathing, awareness, energy. I don't know. I just feel incredible. So really feeling everything moving upwards. It's awesome in that regard. Let's see. What's your opinion on crying and society's standard for it, quote unquote, seeming weak? I don't agree with the standards. Alex, I agree with you. Um, there are, so here's the thing with that. Before I say I agree with you entirely, there's a caveat to that. You can cry as a man. Okay, let me rephrase. You can cry as a man. Doesn't matter. What's more important is what kind of man do you want to be and what kind of man do you want to express. Now there's one thing as like a weak man who's just crying because, well, I don't know, he's not able to uh go see a game or some shit like that, like a guy who's weak, who doesn't take control of his life, a man who doesn't grab life by the balls, and is crying because he can't do it. It's a fucking false illusion. That's fucking bullshit. um Oh, I don't know what happened right now. I think I just got signed out. That's really, really interesting. But for some reason, I'm still able to talk. Wow, this is incredible. But so getting back to your question, crying. So you could be the weak man and crying as the weak man, or you can be the strong man crying as a strong man. You can be anything in between as well. And so it really depends on what man do you want to express cry. Like I said, you're welcome to express crying in one way or the other. There's no judgment. There really isn't. I've decided to choose for myself that I want a life of strong crying if I'm going to cry. I've chosen a life of strength in general. So that's what's up with me, and it's important. It's a really great way to release energy and be aware of that. It's that's what it is. So there's a beauty of it, and that's incredible. Cry over the right things. Yeah, be aware of what is important to cry over and not. So with this, I would like to take a moment to introduce my illustrious co-host, Yogi Chris, PhD. I serve as an apprentice under Yogi Chris, PhD, and it's fucking incredible. As I was telling you guys earlier, I was just in Pittsburgh with him just this past weekend, and to see him teach, to practice alongside him, to reside in the same quarters or in the same house with him was just incredible. Like I said, most of the learnings simply happened in the observation of how he carried and conducted himself. And so I encourage you guys to really surround yourself with people who inspire you and get to hang out with them in person in some way, shape, or form, because that's where you'll really find the richness of hanging out with them and really learning from them. So with that, I pass it over to Yogi Chris, PhD. Brother, how are you this evening?
Well, I feel really, really good. I'm sure there's a big resonance in my voice right here. Just off the road driving from Pittsburgh to Cincinnati, and I go in and I take this great yoga class. Uh, and it's at the studio where I'm teaching this weekend. And so I get on the phone with the studio owner right afterwards, and I'm trying to find Whole Foods at the same time. It's like I'm doing, like you saw me, I was eating, I was like doing many things at the same time, navigating, driving. Earlier, my mom calls me, and I had like a coffee in one hand and my phone in the other hand, and I'm driving with my knee, and the other foot's on the gas pedal. And I'm telling her about the sunset that I'm looking at, and you know, I have 8 limbs, right? It seems like, and I'm trying to find this Whole Foods. I'm just so excited because I went to this Whole Foods the other day. If you don't know, I've been eating eggs lately. And I didn't eat eggs for like 8 years, but I started eating eggs again. And I was just craving it. I went to this Whole Foods last night before I left Pittsburgh, and they didn't have eggs. And of course, the girl, she has like a neck tattoo, and we start relating and blah, blah, blah. And she asks on my YouTube and this and that. And towards the end of the conversation, she tells me she's married. So, whatever. And they didn't have eggs, long story short. So I didn't get my eggs. And I didn't want to make eggs, so I didn't buy eggs. So anyway, long story short, I finally got the Whole Foods. As soon as I park at Whole Foods, and it's like 8:54. And I'm like, shit. Like, I thought for sure this time I was going to be at my Airbnb set up and ready at whatever 9 p.m. Whenever we do podcasts. It didn't happen this week. Next week I'll shoot for it next week. So I'm here. I finally got into my Airbnb, feeling good. Got some eggs in me, and yeah, what an incredible weekend we just finished in Pittsburgh. You were out there, took 2 of those events, and we also did the Messengers extension program with Arash Bazaar. So that was super exciting also because I still need to watch some of those videos again because I fell asleep.
I did too, brother. It was incredible.
You were asleep for a whole one. You were laying but I'm pretty sure it affected my mind because I changed. I was different afterward. So
yeah, and it's so funny because we were asleep for most of the lectures. But the change still happened. And that's really the incredible part to me, is that it's incredible what your subconscious mind picks up when you are communicated with in a superior manner. When someone speaks to you at a high level and sees like the richness of who you are as a person, sees the God in you. Oh my goodness, dude. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible, and it affects every single way that you express in and of itself. So yeah, Yogi Chris, are there any topics you would like to talk about today? If not, I've definitely got a couple things that are brewing in my mind. So I figured I would ask you first and open it up towards you, as you are
well,
the.
I did earlier. I don't remember right now. So let's just go with whatever you end up. I proved it the other day with somebody. It was a girl. I forget who it was. I think I know who it was. And I'm on the phone. I forget why I was proving this point, but it's something about leading conversations or whatever. I don't remember what the point was, but I remember what I did. And what I did was I said, okay, pick any random conversation, just like pick any random, anything at all. It could be anything. She said something stupid. And I grabbed it and I talked for a minute. And in the next like 20 or 30 seconds, I got it to talking about my future yoga retreat center that I'm going to own on the rainy side of a desert mountain. And I went into all these details about it. Then I was like, okay, now randomly pick another topic, any other topic. Anything, something so far distant or whatever. She picks something else, and I grab it, and within 15, 20 seconds, I don't change the subject. I just grab that and improvise and get it to a yoga center on the rainy side of a desert mountain, and I start talking about all the details. And I was like, okay, one more time. Try any other topic, anything at all. She grabs something totally unrelated, absurd. 20, 30 seconds. I steer it. I start talking about yoga retreat center on the rainy side of a desert mountain with all the details. And the point being that no matter what you talk about, I'm going to lead it to whatever I want to talk about.
And I love that, brother. That's fucking incredible. That's awesome. You see that guy, like Yogi Chris, you try to steer him one way, and he's like, no. Let me show you the real way. That's what I love about Yogi Chris, is that he is a man who walks his own path, and it's incredible to walk alongside another man who walks his own path. So awesome. Well, with regards to me, what's going on? A lot of things are going on today. I've been reading this book called, and I think you may have seen it, Yogi Chris. It's called The Effective Executive. It's by Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker is since passed. He was an Austrian management consultant, and he consulted for some of the biggest companies in the world, Fortune 500 companies, everyone from like Coca-Cola to Ford to literally any big company. Like he's probably been involved in some way, shape, or form. And he's been seen as like Edward Jones is another big one. He's been seen as like a guru of management. And one of the big things, one of the big learnings that I've been taking away from him is this concept of self-management and really to be an effective manager, to manage others and really to build teams, you need to manage yourself and be honest with yourself. And that's what it really comes down to. You cannot manage anyone else until you really manage yourself. And it's tough because to do the things that we are looking to do in the world and change the world, it is very, very important for us to make sure that we get our own shit in check and that we are managing ourselves effectively. And that was the most important thing. The concept of the book is effectiveness. Being effective is such an important key concept. And by what does effective mean? Drucker defines it as getting the right things done and prioritizing those. So an effective executive is an executive who is able to get the right things done. Could do anything. You have all the time in the day. It's like, well, what the fuck? How do I spend my time? You could do anything, and you could build your business in so many different ways. But until you really are able to identify what are the right things to do, that's one piece of it. And then getting it and actually executing on it is the second piece. So I don't know, you, Chris, that's what I've been reading over the past day. I'm not sure if there's anything there for that sparks up into you. I'll pass.
Well, definitely just framing it as enlightened masculinity. The podcast is always, by the way, I sent you a private message. The podcast is always themed around enlightenment and masculinity. Masculinity, of course, has its opposite, femininity. And, what are we doing here on planet Earth? I mean, it's obvious. I made a renegade post this week about asexual, non-binary bathrooms. It's just amazing, the hate that people bring to me. And they're like, you're not accepting blah, 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 blah. With their aggression, they're telling me how much they don't accept me. And it's just so fucking absurd that like somebody would come to me and tell me, you're a Nazi because you're trying to police what do you call it? Not a objectified group or no, marginalized. That's what she says, a marginalized group. And here I am thinking like the last time I saw someone post about this is never, ever, except for Arash. Arash made one post about it. Like, so I don't know how long this issue's been going on, but I don't know what you think is a marginalized group, but I feel like a marginalized group. Like I've said one thing once and you're coming and have not commented at all, zero on my posts, and you decide, zero, like she's been friends with me like, I don't know, 4 years or something. And, and now you got something to say about how I'm marginalizing another group that, what are you talking about? You're marginalizing me. You're trying to shut me up. And so this is enlightenment. This is masculinity. You must be aware of when somebody is cutting your communication with blame, guilt, or shame. Because, so to do that, first you need to have an awareness of expansion inside so that you can sense when it contracts. And when that contraction happens based on someone else's cutting your communication. And then the truth of the matter, because everybody's trying to steer the conversation somewhere else. And I'll just bring this up because this is like a topic and people need to know, especially men need to know, because the problem is safety for young girls. In my mind, this is the problem. It's the problem to have a unisex bathroom without having a female-only bathroom. I mean, if you want to have a unisex bathroom, the girl is stupid enough to go in there, she should go in there. But if you're going to take away female bathrooms in public schools so that girls and guys are going to go to the bathroom together, you're putting women in a dangerous situation. You're going to take away female bathrooms in public areas, you're putting girls in a dangerous situation. That if you make it okay for a man who looks like a woman to go into that bathroom, even if he's already had his gender change, you're making it okay for some pedophile to dress up as a woman and go into that bathroom, and it's acceptable because that's what you've made it in that environment. And you're doing that to respect the feelings of other like adult men who think they're women, or maybe they're women who think they're men. I don't know, whatever they think they are, they're adults and they can make their own decision. But if you're going to take away a female bathroom from young girls, or if you're going to you know what I'm saying? This is absurd. It's insane. Like people are coming at me and saying, you're marginalized, whatever. You have hate, this or that. And I'm like, you have hate for little girls because you don't even respect their right to have their own bathroom. You're going to put them next to a guy who thinks he's a girl, who's suicidal, who's 40 years old, who's dressed like a woman, and maybe he's not. Maybe he's just pretending to be that. Because if I was a pedo, that's like prime hunting ground. I mean, you got to see these things. You know, you just got to see these things. Like it's just insane to me. So part of being masculine, like you're talking about with management, is you know your path and you go your path, and your path is independent of other people's applause for your path. Now, there are some people that need to applaud your path, like because that's how you pay the bills. Somebody is following you. If you're by yourself, I mean, that's cool in like an element of it, just like it's cool for a guy to get on a motorcycle and drive zigzag around the country for the rest of his life. I mean, that's kind of cool in a way, but it's also not cool in other ways because it doesn't help anybody. And how is that any different from just being a monk and going to the cave in the side of the mountain, leaving everybody? So, you should have your people. But, so that's been on my mind, and the idea, especially of having a high altitude. So that was the masculinity part of being a protector, of knowing your path and sticking to your path. It's not like I'm not open to having my mind persuaded on the subject, but it's definitely not going to be through guilt and shame tactics and calling me names and attacking me and telling me I'm a Nazi. Like, none of that is persuasive. I don't know what you're trying to do. They're just hurt and they're trying to take their anger out on me because I have a voice. So that's the masculine part of it, not fear of the rejection or fear of, their words, because their words are pathetic. Even their bodies are pathetic if they tried to come and attack me, but their words are pathetic. Then the enlightenment side of things. Like the guy who comments on my things that why can't men and women just have the same bathrooms? He literally comments this. Go back to it had 50 comments on it. There's a lot of juicy misconceptions that guys and girls. A girl who comes on it, and I'll just go ahead and say she's a fat woman, single with 2 or 3 kids. I forget how many kids she has. Clearly not the best. She doesn't make good decisions with guys. You know what I'm saying? She does. It's exemplified in her life. And she's coming on and saying how she feels safer, her daughter going into a non-binary bathroom than her son going into a men's bathroom. And, just the absurdity in her rationale. And maybe it is unsafe to let the kid go into but, what are you talking about? You're saying that because it's unsafe for the guy, that's why I'm going to put my daughter in unsafety? You're not thinking straight. So the enlightenment comes from understanding that men and women are different. Enlightenment would be something transcending male-female. But that doesn't mean male-female is not happening. It just means there's an objective awareness that is neither male-female. But that part of you that's neither male-female isn't paying the bills, isn't having sex, isn't eating, isn't sleeping, it's just always aware. It's just an awareness unit. So whatever is happening in life is not that thing. That thing is just the awareness of it. And when you get to that point, you do not ignore differences between men and women. Like the guy commenting on my face, on my what's your background, bro? Background in what? What do you mean? That's too open.
Yo, Yogi Chris, it's so funny. It's interesting that you say this.
I just want to say this one last point. That, the guy commenting, why can't men and women just have gender neutral bathrooms, blah, 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 is clearly you are so far detached from the experience of a woman, especially a beautiful woman, that's had many male stalkers, that's felt fear walking home at night, just if it's a block or 2 blocks to her car out of the store, that woman does not want a gender neutral bathroom. You're the one that wants a gender neutral bathroom because you don't have any women in your life. That's why you want a gender neutral bathroom, because you want to get close proximity to women in an environment that feels like it's intimate. That's why you need to come clean about that, young man, because no man who has a beautiful girlfriend or wife and no beautiful woman wants a gender neutral bathroom. The people who want that don't have those things, which is a majority of the population, which is scared because in a democracy, they get the majority vote. So you got to convince the sheep on some level. And that comes from the enlightenment of, not that I'm enlightened, but it comes from the altitude perspective of there's men, there's women, they're different. And just because I feel so much bliss throughout my day doing meditation, I don't forget that men are dangerous, women are manipulative. Men are dangerous, women are manipulative. And this is underlying the behavior code of everyone. Okay, I'm sorry I talked for a long time.
No, brother. No need to apologize. And I love your expression. I really do. This is a man speaking with spine, a man speaking with beliefs. It's important to be aware and observe, more than anything, observe the way he communicates. This is, like I mentioned, these are where all the distinctions that I've made in my life. So I continue to just make distinct, like just seeing him express is like, there's so many things that I've learned. That aside, I've been studying Prince a lot, as you know, brother. It's on the plane ride over. I just bought this whole thing, a whole magazine on Prince and his life and everything. And I think he really embodied what you were talking about a little bit there, in the sense of that masculine, feminine, that androgynous character. So very, very interesting there.
What does androgynous mean?
Both displaying and exhibiting both masculine and feminine characteristics simultaneously.
Oh, is that Prince? Prince did that?
Yeah. So he's been known to have done that, and so there's a couple characters who do this. It's interesting. It just piques curiosity in terms of sexuality, because it's like, well, are they this or are they that? And it just piques interest. Anyways, we're just about to start closing up this episode, and we will start and kick off another one in probably about a minute or so. With that, Yogi Chris, any quick last words?
Well, what was when you started this episode? What was the
No theme, simply ad-libbing. I don't even remember what I said at the beginning of it, which I kind of like.
What do you think that? What do you think in hindsight? What would you kind of? What are some titles you might think about?
Court controversy.
Courting controversy. Um, yeah. Have a spine when you communicate. Are you, what a deep and powerful topic to have a spine when you communicate. Communicate like.
We'll talk about this next. I will end this.
Well, this is what the episode was for me. Controversy. If you don't court controversy with a spine, you're not courting controversy. You're just dabbing in it. To court controversy. Are you courting controversy femininely? Because remember that in the human animal kingdom, the man is bigger than the woman. He's stronger than the woman. That the woman isn't going to win physically. She wins through her communication by controlling his emotions. And when you court controversy, are you trying to influence the other person's emotions through, how are you doing it? Are you positively influencing them by attracting them to pleasure? Or are you, trying to influence them by making them afraid of the negative feelings? Repelling them from, altering their behavior by somehow bringing out the negative feelings associated with what they're doing, which could be, the consequences of it, or through directly attacking their person. And, so when you court controversy, just do it, have some certainty about yourself. We're all going to get better. We're all going to get smarter. We're all going to change our opinions as we move forward. You might have some of the same opinions, or you might change. You're going to keep updating. So having respect for your fellow human when you, engage in some dialogue over maybe a controversial subject, courting controversy, is essential for our evolution. Otherwise, we're just a bunch of robots and wounded animals talking to each other, talking at each other, not really getting anywhere, just, going in circles. So have a spine and have respect. But when they don't show respect, you don't have any obligation to stay in that conversation. You can turn and walk away. So that's how I would end it for myself. Thanks, Akash, for leading us off.
Yeah, on my end, check out the Facebook group. Get on. You guys are missing out.
Nice.
Keep up, thrive. Wait. Stay sexy.